will the price of XRP be in 2026? I wanted to know this question, so I was like, who am I going to ask? You know what? I heard that Elon Musk's AI Grok was a little bit naughty and said some naughty things, but now they have fixed it. And I was like, okay, let's ask Grok, Elon Musk's AI, how high XRP can get by the end of 2025 into 2026. You are going to be very surprised what he had to say or they had to say. I asked the question, I said, now that the crypto market is heating up, Bitcoin hit a new all-time high, massive support from the US government, Ripple dropping their appeal, and potentially the SEC dropping their appeal as well, right? Plus XRP ETFs potentially coming very soon. What would be a reasonable price prediction for XRP by the end of the year? So let's see what Grok had to say. Now, first of all, XRP is currently sitting at $2.74, down a little bit. Maybe you're watching this, I don't know, in a year from now, maybe you're watching it tomorrow. Currently, XRP is $2.64. It did run up to $2.96 last night. Now it's coming back a little bit. But the crypto market is in this really weird place. Some are moving up, some are moving down. General, the market is confusing a little bit. Some are red, a few are green, and Bitcoin 117,546. That's the current situation. Now, I will never tell you to buy, to sell, or to hold. Of course, I don't know what the market is going to do. We're going to ask Grok. We'll see what he says. But this video is not for financial advice. Always do your own diligence before you decide to invest, right? This is not financial advice. Always do your own due diligence before you decide to invest. I do not know what the price of XRP is going to do, and that is very, very important to remember. Also, real quick, before we get into what Grok says, I just want to remind you that I will never contact you on social media asking you to sign up to anything or to send me any money. Those are scammers. Please be very careful out there. Okay, so I asked Grok, me love, tell me, who are you? I said what I told you before. Now that the crypto market is heating up, right? What could the price of prediction for XRP be by the end of 2025? So this is what Grok answered me. Predicting the price of XRP at the end of 2025 involves considering multiple factors, including the current market dynamics, regulatory developments, institutional adoption, and broader cryptocurrency trend. Based on the context provided by the latest available data, here's a reason and analysis. By the way, if I mispronounce anything or I say something weird, remember English is my second language and I only speak it with you. So it's very special, right? You should feel special. By the way, today, the like button is only for VIPs. So if you try to smash the like button and it works, it means that you are a VIP. Just saying. Okay? So key factors influencing XRP's price. Bitcoin's new all-time high and market sentiment. Bitcoin's rally to new all-time high, recently hitting, reached more, needs to update Grok, signals a bullish crypto market, which often lifts altcoins like XRP. XRP tends to follow Bitcoin's price movements, though it may lag and then catch up during bull runs. The Fear and Greed Index, currently neutral at 52, suggests further room to bullish sentiment and market optimism grow. Now, I don't know what Fear and Greed Index Grok is looking at, but on the one that I look at, we're in extreme greed. So again, Grok or an AI might have some inconsistency, might have some things that are not true. Remember that Grok is taking from these three websites, so potentially these websites could be with old data, not updated data. So again, we have to take those things into consideration. U.S. government support. The inclusion of XRP in the U.S. cryptocurrency reserve in March 2025 by the president, he said that XRP would be in the reserve, and speculation about the U.S. government potentially holding XRP as a national reserve, though dismissed by some experts, indicates growing institutional acceptance. Additionally, pro-crypto legislative developments such as the Clarity Act and the Bitcoin Act could create a favorable environment for XRP. The Ripple vs. SEC lawsuit resolution. The resolution of Ripple's legal battle with the SEC is a major catalyst. The SEC appeal against the problematic sales ruling is ongoing, but Ripple's decision to drop its cross appeal on June 28, 2025, and the potential for SEC to follow suit significantly reduces regulatory uncertainty. The March 2025 settlement, with Ripple paying a reduced $50 million fine, down from $125 million, and XRP confirmed as non-security for retail transactions, has already boosted investors' confidence. XRP approval prospects. The anticipation of XRP spot ETF approval is a significant driver. Bloomberg analysts estimate a 95% chance of approval by the end of 2025, with applications from firms like Franklin Templeton, 21 Shares, Bitwise, and Grayscale under review. The approval of the NASDAQ XRP Futures ETF and Brazil's spot XRP ETF further supports global acceptance. If approved, an XRP ETF could attract substantial institutional inflows, potentially mirroring Bitcoin's 48.85 billion in ETF inflows since 2025, with estimates about 5 to 8 billion for XRP ETFs in the first year. And institutional adoption and Ripple's partnership. Ripple's expanding partnerships with 300 financial institutions, including Santander, American Express, and recent collaborations in Dubai and with ABRDN enhances XRP's utility in cross-border payments. The launch of RLUSD, Ripple's USD-based stablecoin, has further boosted liquidity and market sentiment, contributing to adoption through RippleNet's on-demand liquidity could drive demand. And of course, technical and market indicators. XRP is currently trading around 278 with market cap of 129.1 billion. Technical analysis shows bullish patterns such as cup and handle formation and breakout above the 240 resistance. The relative strength index at 61.77 indicates XRP is not overbought yet, suggesting room for growth. However, short-term volatility persists with support levels at 1.8 to 2 and resistance at 299 to 340. Okay, so we can potentially see that in the graph, right? Potential cup. I don't know if maybe there was a cup here and now we're seeing a breakout. All those, when you ever see, a cup and handle or head and shoulders or a pregnant lady or something like that, it's always in the eyes of the beholder. And many times I have problems seeing those things like a pennant or a flag or a trend, upward trend. Those are easier to see, but sometimes, head and shoulders and things like that, it's in the eyes of the beholder. I don't really like using them, but sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Price predictions for the end of 2025. Now the juice, right? Analysts' forecasts for XRP price by the end of 2025 vary widely, reflecting the speculative nature for the crypto markets. Here's the synthesis of predictions from reputable sources and posts on X, adjusted for current developments, right? So conservative estimates saying $1, $0.92, $2 at Chainlink. CoinDex is 274 to 399. These forecasts assume limited ETF approvals, slower institutional adoptions, or persistent market volatility. Then we got moderate estimates with Bitpanda 180 to 250 with potential to reach 5 if approvals and institutional adoptions accelerate. Bazinga between 2 to 581, contingent on banking partnerships and regulatory clarity. Coinpedia 581, driven by ETF momentum and Ripple expansion. Standard Chartered 550, fueled by ETF approvals and increased adoption. Investing Havens is 181 to 444 with focus on breaking the 340 all-time high. These projections align with scenarios where XRP benefits from ETF approvals, legal clarity, and moderate institutional inflows supported by bullish crypto market. And now let's move to more optimistic estimates, right? So we have here 5 to 7, 15, up to 15 with legal wins and institutional support. Some years predict 10 to 14 in 2 to 3 months by September, October 2025, 12.5 to 25 by year end, or even 30 to 50 in longer term. These are speculatives and assume massive institutional adoption, ETF inflows, and global financial integration. Now, let's take a listen. Let's take a stop, for example, for a second and look at these predictions. So let's say 5 to 7. Okay, 5 to 7, in my humble opinion, right, is not that outlandish. Why? Because if the crypto market does go into the banana zone and we see Bitcoin go to maybe 150, 170, then there is very high probability that XRP could double, right? Remember, Ethereum, to get back to its all-time high, needs to go up if it doubles from here, it would get to 6,000, which it's not out of the possibility that it would do that, because to get to its previous all-time, it needs 60%. So to get to 6,000 for Ethereum, I didn't think would be crazy if Bitcoin is going to 170, maybe even 200. Some say 350, right, by the end of the year. So if those things happen, then 5 to 7, definitely. 15 would already be a 5x from where we are right now. That's a little bit more high than what most analysts would say. And if we go even higher to 30 to 50 or even 25 by the year end, again, that's a 10x movement for XRP. Think of this for a second. When we got that big move up for XRP from 50 cents all the way up to, let's say, $3, the first run up, right? So that was a 6x. If we do 6x from here, right? So that's 2.7 times 6, that would bring us to 16.2. So if we do a similar movement to what we saw back in November, by the end of the year, we would see XRP around 16. So 25, 30, and 50 are a little bit high end, right? Like best case scenario. Just looking at the numbers. Again, maybe there's massive momentum and crazy things happen. We saw previous cycles, the crazy things happen, and very big assets went 10x and 15x and 20x up. So there is always that possibility. Okay? But I'm a little bit more, I would call myself a realist just on price predictions. I tend to be a little bit on the medium side, not lower and not high, medium. That's kind of the guy I am. I'm a medium guy. Right? I give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Right? So I'm giving you also worst case scenarios here, medium case scenarios, good case scenarios, and then we get to the highly speculative ones. So people are talking about 2,500, 1,000, 10,000, and things like that. Those are, for the end of this year, I think that's out of the realm of possibility. If it happens, I'll be very, very happy. Of course, I'll be very, very wealthy, but I don't think that it's going to potentially happen by the end of the year. Okay? We'll see 2030, maybe. We'll see down the line. But again, short term, I don't think. I know that moon boys are going to be angry at me for thinking this way, but I have learned in life that things can change in a flip of the eye, right? And 1 second you're sleeping, the next second ballistic missiles are flying at you. You don't know what's going to happen. So I decided that I would be more conservative in my predictions and where I think the market is going. And if it performs, great. But I'm in, but I'm also cautious, right? I got the monkey on my back saying to me, hey, Javi, don't forget, you need to be, watch out for everything that could potentially happen and get ready for all those scenarios, okay? Now, let's see what Grok says here on the reasonable price prediction. Considering the above factors, a reasonable price range for XRP by the end of 2025 is 3 to 7, with a midpoint of 5. This is supported by regulatory clarity, the likely dismissal of the SEC appeal, and confirmation of XRP non-security status. Remove a major overhang, boosting investor confidence. ETF approval, the 95% chance of ETF approval could drive 5 to 8 billion. We talked about that. Institutional adoption, market dynamics. I want to also add here the potential of addition of companies of XRP to their balance sheet. That could potentially be a big thing. And again, if we get ETFs from the big players like BlackRock, Fidelity, Schwab, of course, that could make a big difference. So there's a lot of things that can happen. However, risk remains. Regulatory setback, if SEC purpose is to appeal or ETF approvals are delayed, then XRP could face downward pressure. Market volatility, geopolitical tensions, and macroeconomic events, example, Trump tariffs could trigger sell-offs, and competition, stablecoins, or alternative blockchain solutions could reduce XRP adoption. And Grok's conclusion, at $5 price target for XRP by the end of 2025 is a balanced estimate. And that's actually the estimate that I think is reasonable as well, reflecting the positive catalyst of ETF approvals, legal clarity, and institutional adoptions tempered by potential volatility and regulatory risk. More bullish scenarios 10 to 15, while conservative estimates 2 to 3. So that would basically mean that we would either go up or come back down or something in that kind of that also is a possibility that maybe, for example, October of 2025 is maybe the peak. That's 500 days after the halving. And then towards November, December, we have a little bit of a pullback that's happened before. So those are things, again, that we also have to take into consideration, that is on the table, right? And Grok gives, of course, the disclaimer: the prediction is based on current data and analyst forecasts of July 12th, 2025, and is subject to change due to market volatility and unforeseen events, right? So again, I don't know what the exact price of XRP is going to be by the end of 2025, unless I was a time traveler, and then I could not tell you the exact price because that would be against my prime directive. I could not tell you that because I would change the timeline. Although I saw a show recently that said that you can go back in time and change the time, right? Change things because you're not changing your timeline. You're just creating a new timeline. So if you go back to your timeline, right, then everything will be the same, but there's going to be a parallel timeline where you changed it. I don't know. That's what they said. Because in other shows that I've seen, whenever you go back, you make changes in your timeline. So I don't know. But it's a complicated subject, of course. It depends what show you're watching. So again, like I said, I don't know what's going to happen exactly. Nobody knows. And if anybody tells you that they do know, they're a scammer and run away. Okay? Be very, very careful out there. Don't forget to smash the like button. Are you a VIP? Maybe. I don't know. Check. You can always drop 8 in the comment section for infinity and beyond. And of course, if you keep coming back to the channel, now's the time to subscribe. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you next time. And like I always say, let's make a lot of money.
This is one of the most critical, important signals in all of finance and economy. It helpfully points out periods when you should be concerned, like now, for example. And it does so in a relatively easy, simple, straightforward fashion. So wouldn't it really suck if everybody got it wrong and for all the wrong reasons? I'm talking, of course, about the US dollar and its exchange value. And the US dollar exchange value is an incredibly valuable resource, pun intended, for understanding the risks to the situation, whether it be financial, monetary, or economic. But what most people know about the dollar's exchange value is usually the Fed or something like it. There's a tremendous amount of misunderstanding, assumptions that are made that float around social media, the financial media too, that never get challenged. They never get verified. They never get falsified when it's really easy and simple to do. So we're going to establish the dollar exchange value, what it actually tells us and why, and therefore the wider implications for what is really an easy signal. We'll start with the myths. The myths there's a number of them. Begin with the U.S. as being strong. I mean, the stronger U.S. dollar is a reflection of stronger fundamentals with the United States, and it seems to make sense. The U.S. is strong, capital flows toward the U.S. system, therefore into U.S. dollar assets, the dollar goes up in exchange value. That's just flat out wrong. And there's a variant of that theme, which is the cleanest dirty shirt. Well, maybe the U.S. isn't strong, but at least it's not as bad off as everyone else, so again, capital flows to the U.S. and U.S. dollar assets. The dollar goes up in exchange value, and that's just wrong, too. But most people, they associate the dollar